All season long, we've been hearing fans say it's time to bring up Ruslan Iskhakov from the AHL and let him play on the island. I'm going to tell you why the time to make that move is right now. All that and a lot more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Wednesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everybody who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. We have got a lot to discuss on today's show. But first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all season long, and I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis. All right, busy show today. But the first thing I'm going to get to, I can't even tell you. I can't count how many emails, how many things I've read on social media, how many DMs I've gotten, how many conversations I've had with Islander fans who basically say, why hasn't Lou Lamoriello called up Ruslan Iskhakov? And you know what? I've always said, yeah, it would make a certain amount of sense to recall Iskhakov, but Lou isn't going to do it. And unfortunately, so far, he has not done it at all. And I'm here today to explain why the time for that move is now. And there's different ways to look at it, but I think overall, now is the time to make the move. The Islanders have 11 games remaining. Depending on who you ask, which computer model you use, their chances of making the playoffs are somewhere between 5.5% and 13%, according to different models that I have seen and published reports. In other words, this team right now is hanging on by a thread. And, in the YouTube comments recently, I have, also had a lot of people say, hey, where's Iskhakov? Why haven't they brought him up? Guy can do stuff. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. More than anything, one thing I have said, and everydayers, that this Islanders team right now does not have enough bona fide top six forwards to fill out the top six. You have Brock Nelson, you have Bo Horvat, you have certainly Matthew Barzal. That's three. Depending on whether he's on a hot streak or not, Kyle Palmieri could be a fourth. To me, on a deep, good, contending team, Palmieri is an ideal third-line player who would also maybe be on your second power play unit. But if you want to include Palmieri, you're still missing two players who are bona fide top six guys to fill out your top six. Right now, Ruslan Iskhakov is your number one offensive point producer in Bridgeport. He has already matched his goal total from a year ago with 17 in 61 games. Last year he played 69 games, had 17. He's probably not going to match the 51 points he had last year unless he has a hot finish. He has 44 points in 61 games. But, you look at Bridgeport, and we will have our farm report coming up a little bit later on in the show. He leads the team in goals, assists, and points. By bringing up Ruslan Iskhakov, you also provide the Islanders with a potential spark offensively. And every day is, again, I've been saying this at least since last off season, but even longer than that. This team needs to get younger, faster, and more skilled. Well, guess what? Ruslan Iskhakov, 23. That makes him younger. Anybody who has watched highlights, and just go to YouTube and check out some of Ishkakov's highlights, you could tell he's got that speed and he's got skill. What he can do when he has the puck on his stick is exciting, and it adds a little juice to an Islander lineup that Patrick Waugh himself cannot seem to figure out a good set of line combinations that gives his team skill and balance and at least 3 productive offensive lines. Put Iskhakov in the lineup and watch what the kid can do. In addition to giving the team a little offensive boost. People have said, well, the issue with Ruslan Iskhakov, and I'm not disagreeing with this, but the issue that keeps him from being in the NHL, he proved he can do a lot of good things with the puck, but what is he going to do without the puck? When he's not in possession of the puck, what is he going to do? And my answer to you is he may not be up to snuff as to how he plays without the puck right now compared to where the Islanders organization wants him to be. But by bringing him up and giving him a chance, you know what you're doing? You're making the other guys who are out there on the ice when he's out there, they have to be even more aware. Hey, this guy may not be great without the puck. I have to be responsible. And you know what? The way this team has played all year, that is a good thing. Because, it's a little better under Patrick Waugh, but the defensive coverage, inconsistent as heck. Too many breakdowns, too many mistakes. You know what? If the guys on the ice, when Iskhakov is out, the 2 defensemen, the other 2 forwards, feel, hey, we got to be a little bit more defensively responsible because this kid is inexperienced and isn't great without the puck, that's a good thing for this team. And 2 other reasons why the time is now. Number 1, you can get a little boost offensively, and it also shows prospects in the Islanders organization that you play well in Bridgeport, you will be rewarded. And we need that. We need the players who are in the AHL and the ECHL to feel there is a path to the NHL with this organization. And, so many people have commented, oh, this Islanders team, they're a country club. There's no responsibility. There's no accountability on this team. Well, you know what? You put Iskhakov in the lineup and you sit somebody, whether it's Pierre Engvall or Matt Martin or whoever you're going to sit. All of a sudden, if you don't play well, here's a guy who's going to take your spot in the lineup. That adds to accountability. And one more reason to throw in for good measure. Ishkakov's contract is up at the end of this year. If he feels there is no path to the NHL, he very well may head back to Russia, where he's from, and go to the KHL. Or he may just say, you know what? I've had enough of this stuff. I'm going to, I'm not going to sign with the Islanders. He's a restricted free agent, but he may just say, hey, not coming back. And giving him a taste of the NHL at this point certainly would be something that would give him a little more incentive to say, you know what? I might be able to play in the NHL with this organization. And that is also a good thing. So for all these reasons, with the playoff picture becoming less and less likely, there's less to lose. Let's see what the kid has to offer. I know Lou Lamoriello won't do it. That's not Lou. He will not bring up Iskhakov most likely until the Islanders are mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. And that may be 2 games, 3 games at most, depending on how this team does over the next 7 or 8 games. But you know what? Oh, yeah. And one other reason, shootouts, overtime. You get Iskhakov on the ice 3-on-3. You go to YouTube and watch what this kid has done in shootouts. The Islanders are terrible in overtime and even worse in shootouts. Maybe having Iskhakov there, if he does nothing else, gets you an extra point or 2 down the stretch just because what he can do in 3-on-3 overtime situations and in shootouts. It is time. It is time to see what the kid can do. Because right now, this Islanders team needs a jolt, and they have nothing to lose because their chances are slim to none. All right, we have got a lot more to get to on today's show. We have an update on Scott Mayfield and his status, Anders Lee, and what happens with him, plus our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders. So all that and a lot more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So just some final word on the Anders Lee ejection from Sunday's game against the Devils. No supplementary discipline from the NHL. That is official, and honestly, very glad to hear that, that is done. So relieved and glad that there is no suspension. The Islanders also announced Tuesday that Scott Mayfield has had surgery and that he will not be available to the New York Islanders for the rest of the season. And they did say he's expected to make a full recovery. The surgery was successful, although I have yet to hear any surgery of an athlete be announced as initially unsuccessful, but glad to hear it was successful and that he should be able to make a full recovery without it impacting his summer preparations for training camp. So here's what head coach Patrick Waugh said. I'm happy for him that he could put this injury behind him. Let's focus on what's coming up. He's going to take care of himself and be ready for training camp. And look, I know many fans have been frustrated with Mayfield this year, that his play has not lived up to even his past standards. He had 5 assists in 41 games, 70 hits, 106 block shots. But let's face it, his game was inconsistent. But the fact of the matter is that Mayfield has toughed it out for the team. He has been playing hurt all year. Captain Anders Lee, here's his quote at practice on Tuesday. He was challenged with injuries and things that forced him to play through pain. I think this route obviously gets him healthy as soon as possible and takes care of his body. But Scott has always been extremely strong and had a lot of courage to play through the pain. So he did as much as he could to make sure that happened as long as he could this season. But unfortunately, I think the best decision was for him to shut it down and get things right for the fall. Matthew Barzal adds, he's always been that warrior for us. He's a heart and soul guy. I mean, it sucked watching him go through that kind of pain every night. So I'm happy that for his health, he got the surgery. It's been a minute since he's been in the lineup, but definitely when he was in, he was battling as hard as he could and still playing physical and heavy. So it's definitely a testament to just who he is as a person and to his character. So I look, when it comes to Scott Mayfield, I have always been a Scott Mayfield fan and always enjoyed what he brought to the team. Not going to deny that I thought signing him to a 7-year extension at his age was not a wise move by Lou Lamoriello. I can like a player and still not like the terms of his contract. And obviously he did struggle on the ice this year. There's no way around that. And so, look, here's the hope. Scott Mayfield is under contract, like it or not, with the New York Islanders for the next 6 years. It is highly doubtful that any other team is going to take Mayfield in a trade with that contract, with that term. So, like it or not, Mayfield will almost certainly be back with the team next year. If we get the better version, the healthy version of Scott Mayfield, he still could put together, 3 solid seasons before his body starts to really decline. Yeah, that still means there'd be 3 more seasons left, but, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But the physical element that Scott Mayfield brings, the play in his own zone that he brings when he's healthy and when he's in the lineup, those are definitely positives for this team. And hopefully, we will have a healthy Scott Mayfield back in the lineup next season and ready to go for the New York Islanders. And certainly wishing him a complete and rapid recovery. And that is basically the best possible news for Scott Mayfield. A couple of quick notes also. The Bridgeport Islanders, and we will have our weekly farm report coming up, but a couple of, 3 new signings, some players that will join the team in 2024-2025. That includes forward Matt Copperwood, defenseman Cam McDonald, and defenseman Matthias Rajaniemi. So all of them signing. We already know that Alex Jeffries signed, and then Cam Thiesing inked a 2-year, 2-way contract last week. So a lot of new talent being inked to the Bridgeport Islanders. I don't think any of these teams, any of these players are short-term answers for the Islanders right now. I think these guys in a couple of years could add something to the team. But at the very least, the Bridgeport Islanders, who, again, have been struggling all season, adding some talent and looking ahead to 2024, 2025. And hopefully, these new players can help this team improve and add some juice to the lineup, because Bridgeport needs all the help they can get. We have got a lot more to get to on today's show. We'll have our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders, and I'm happy to say that it was a good week in Bridgeport. We've got that, plus our Islanders birthday of the day, a player who was acquired from the Buffalo Sabres and gave the Islanders 3 solid seasons. Let's see if you can guess who that forward is. He played for the Islanders in the early 2000s. We've got that and more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. Say goodbye to busted brackets, because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. I mean, I can't stand it if one of your final 4 teams is already out, but you don't need to give up on your bracket. You can bet on every game on FanDuel. Whether you're betting on a 1 seed or a big upset, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. Heck, you could even bet who's going to win it all. And check out the odds. The Islanders have 2 games coming up in Florida. FanDuel has you covered for those as well. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet college hoops till they cut down the nets. FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Time for our weekly farm report on all things Bridgeport Islanders. We do this every Wednesday, barring some unforeseen circumstances. And the Islanders played 2 road games last weekend and won them both. First game coming Friday night against basically the Utica Comets. And the Islanders go to a shootout and win it by a score of 2-1. Jakub Skarek playing very well for the Islanders. Skarek making 35 saves in this game, including some beauties in the third period, and had to face a penalty shot in overtime, but he made the save, and that was huge. The goal in regulation for the Islanders, Julien Gauthier, who scored midway through the second period, and then Ruslan Iskhakov, who we spoke of later, he gets the only goal in the shootout, and again, a backhand finish that was just taking people's breath away. Islanders beat the Comets by a score of 2-1. Then, Saturday, the Islanders move on to face the Lehigh Valley Phantoms. And again, Julien Gauthier gets a goal in his third straight. Ruslan Iskhakov has a multi-point game for the 11th time this year. And the Islanders again win by a score of 2-1. Iskhakov gets the game winner. And Ken Appleby, 24 saves to earn the win. This is the second straight win for Bridgeport, and they are now 2-1-0-1 against Lehigh Valley this season. So 2 wins and no losses for Bridgeport last week. Iskhakov, as I mentioned, still leading the team in goals, assists, and points. Otto Koivula next with 30 points, 9 goals, 21 assists in just 47 games. Brian Pinho has 26 points, as does Dennis Chalowski, who leads all defensemen, 5 goals among those 26 points. Robin Salo, 23 points. Matthew Maggio, William Dufour, both with 13 goals each, but they're both Cy Young candidates. Maggio, 13 and 9. Dufour, 13 goals and 7 assists. Meanwhile, as far as goalies go, Skarek now, his goals against average down to 308. His save percentage, 892. The win-loss record, 7-19 and 5. Still not great, but hey, it is at least headed in the right direction. And then as far as the standings go, Bridgeport has 10 games left on their schedule, and they are 10 points behind Springfield for the 7th and final playoff spot in the Atlantic Division of the AHL. It will not be easy to catch Springfield, but again, got to try and play it out until the season ends. This weekend, 2 games and then a third game on Tuesday, all at home for the Bridgeport Islanders. Friday, 7 o'clock Eastern time, start the Charlotte Checkers visit. They visit again, 7 o'clock Eastern time on Saturday, March 30th. And then on Tuesday, April 2nd, a 10:30 a.m. matinee game, the Utica Comets visiting Bridgeport. And, 3 games in rapid succession. So if they're going to make a run, this is the time to do it. Not going to be easy. Charlotte, 4th place right now in the division. And then Utica, not an easy opponent, not a division opponent, but it is one of those teams that they're in 7th place in the North. Got to find a way to get the dub. So again, if you want to see some of the Islanders prospects play in Bridgeport, head on up, take the ferry if you're on Long Island, and get yourself some tickets, or you could watch all these games on AHL TV. And I'm glad that Bridgeport won its last 2 games over the weekend. Always good to collect some wins and see the team making some improvements. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day, and we are again a day late because Tuesday was the big 5-0 for former Islanders center Mike Peca. Peca, a native of Toronto, drafted in the 2nd round by the Canucks back in 1992. Only played parts of 2 seasons with the Canucks, then was off to Buffalo where he did rather well, and then joined the Islanders for the 2001-2002 season, stayed with the team for 3 years before playing for Edmonton, Toronto, and Columbus, ended his career after the 2008-09 season. And right now, Mike Peca is an assistant coach with the New York Rangers. Won a couple of Selke trophies, including one in Buffalo, and one with the Islanders in 01-02. His best year with the Islanders, 2001-2002, 25 goals, 60 points in 80 games. One of his best games as an Islander, well, it was his first game as an Islander. Season opener, October 5th, 2001 at the old Ice Palace in Tampa Bay. Chris Osgood, the goalie for the Islanders. Nikolai Habibulin, the goalie for the Lightning. And Mike Peca gets his Islander career off to a great start with a shorthanded goal just 6 minutes and 14 seconds into the game. Sean Bates, the only assist that made it 1-0 Islanders. And then after the Lightning scored twice, once in the first, once in the second, in the third period, Michael Peca sets up Mark Parrish once to tie the game at 2. And then on the power play, Peca and Roman Hamrlik assist on Parrish's second goal of the game. That was the game winner. Islanders beat the Tampa Bay Lightning by a score of 3-2 in this game. Michael Peca, a goal, 2 assists, a +2, 2 shots on goal. And yes, the goal was a shorty. He was on the ice for 16 minutes and 28 seconds. Mike Peca is our Islanders' birthday of the day. I want to thank everyone again for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, tomorrow on the show, we will have a full preview of the Islanders' upcoming game in Florida against the Panthers. So make sure you join us for that. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.